What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back, and we are back, baby, to another episode of the Get It Right Saturday Night Podcast. The podcast is back, guys. We're here. You guys saw the vlogs over the summer, the few ones that we made over the span of 2 months that we had, but now we're back. We're back in college. College game day, baby. Big views, big time things coming on, big plays. We're here with Marco Neto coming in from UCF.
Good night, Jargon.
We got Oscar Morale representing the University of Miami, baby.
Let's go, baby. You know what it is.
And we got Colin, big Colin in Gainesville. Colin in Gainesville at UF.
It's a big
Yep.
week. This is a big week, Colin.
Yeah.
And
Big
I'm here,
week.
and I'm back from Colorado. I'm back in Colorado, back at it again. But we got a great episode for you guys today. So let's get right into it, baby. Let's go.
Yep. So as we all know, college football and football in general is starting back up again. We're very excited, looking forward to the season. So today will just be an episode solely focused on college football. A lot of great games starting off here in week one. And so we'll start it off with a few of the bigger name ones. First, we'll go with Clemson and Georgia. We got Cade Klubnik trying to bring Clemson back to prominence, obviously, versus Georgia, who I believe is ranked. Yes, they're number one. So, going to be a great game to start off
Whoop-de-doo.
the
Womp womp.
week.
Big
So,
shocker.
yeah. So, Oscar, how are you feeling about college football in general and this game specifically?
College football, baby. I'm hyped. We're back. Just this time of year, there's something special about it. You got college football, you got the NFL starting up soon, and then the NBA also going to start up soon as well, a little bit after that. So, it's just a great time of the year. You go have all my favorite holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Just end of the year is always the best. But yeah, college football specifically, you gotta love it, man. And this is gonna be week one. This game specifically, I just gotta say, man, Georgia, this is a redemption year for them. They were trying to go back to back to back, and they just barely missed out on it last year. And I think they're still the best team in college football. Just put plainly, Michigan had a great run last year, but Georgia's still the team to beat, to me, for me at least.
Yeah. Mark, what about you? What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Honestly, Clemson, Georgia. I really think Georgia is still gonna win this game. I think Georgia will start off 1-0, and Clemson will be down 0-1 here. Both great programs, both great football, but Georgia has just been the top dog for the past 3, 4 years now, and they're the team to beat. So of course, them coming in as number one seed and Clemson as 14 here. This is gonna be a fun game to watch, and I'm honestly really excited just in general for college football and this whole new format that's coming in with the 12 team playoffs. A lot of interesting names that have been left out before that will be coming in and giving everyone a run for their money. So I'm excited. I really am.
Yep. Marco,
What
what do you
about you,
think?
Marco?
Yeah, equally as excited for college football to start up now that we're, coming into our second year of college, just continuing to, see how that energy, even on campus, is definitely palpable. Really
Oh yeah,
excited for
for
that.
sure.
I will say, in terms of the Clemson Georgia game, I can't agree more with my two counterparts here. I think Georgia's still a team to beat. I think everybody slips up, and by slip up, they barely missed it. So I think that they're definitely the team to beat. In terms of LSU, I feel like they've had a lot of big name quarterbacks, very good pipeline in terms of quarterbacks to the pros. This guy, Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know if I'm mispronouncing his name. I mean, he's seen limited action in the past. He's been behind some pretty big names. Not trying to count him out, but I really do trust Carson Beck and crew to get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
What about
agree.
you, Colin?
I think Georgia's going to win for sure. Obviously, I don't like Clemson either, so I want them to lose for sure. But like you guys mentioned, Georgia barely missed making the playoff last year. My opinion, I think they should have made it. I said in that episode, I feel like Georgia deserved to be in it anyway, and they kind of got robbed. I'm not going to lie. So,
Yeah.
um, so I think they're gonna. I mean, obviously Kirby Smart is gonna want that team to come back. Uh, and win the championship again. I mean, three championships in 4 years is incredibly impressive. I think they really have a shot at doing it. So Carson Beck coming into I believe his second year as the full-time starter, I think he's going to have improved, and I'm looking for Georgia to do great things this year. And then another game, that is looking really nice on the schedule is USC versus LSU. No Caleb Williams anymore, but
No Jaden Daniels either.
yeah. So two new
Yeah.
quarterbacks, but I'm forgetting his name right now. But the USC guy, he had an insane bowl game last year. I think he threw maybe 5 touchdowns or something like that. So a lot of hype surrounding him. And yeah, I think it'll be a great game.
I mean, it's two big college programs. I mean, it should be a great game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You guys have any thoughts on that one
Yeah.
specifically?
just to cover up my prior mistake, I was under the impression that it was LSU versus Georgia. In any case, I still think that Georgia takes over Dabo and whatever he's trying to do with Clemson. But in terms of USC LSU, again, two storied programs. Again, my thought remains never really heard of this Nussmeier guy, and I have heard a lot of hype about USC. I feel like they have been a little bit overrated in the past, just because it's such a storied program. But I definitely do think that LSU still has all the pieces that they were just a couple years ago, and they still have that foundation. So I would
Oh yeah.
personally take LSU in this game.
So Colin, you're talking about Miller Moss over here, and I'm looking at his stats, and yeah, he threw
Yeah.
6 touchdowns in that bowl game that
Oh,
you're talking
sorry,
about,
not five,
and
six.
Even more.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's honestly definitely impressive. Both esteemed programs, like Marco said, LSU has just they've had studs, they've had stars, they're a great program. I think I'd want to see LSU um take this win here. I think the time for USC. I think USC is kind of died down a little bit this year, so maybe they won't make it to top 25. I'm honestly not sure if a lot of these programs coming in and getting more recruiting and building up these awesome programs that we're seeing. So, I'm excited. I think LSU will take this, and uh, just it's also going to be a great game. Two ranked teams going at it. So, why not have some fun?
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and then another game, which is this is going to be the college game day game. So we got Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. Definitely going to be a great game. Obviously, the first primetime game of the season. So yeah, what do you guys think is
Real
going to
quick,
happen in this
Colin,
one?
could you tell us where
Oh yeah,
that game is going to be taking place
It's
at?
yeah.
it's in
So
Texas. Is it
yeah,
College
Oh,
it's in
Station?
yeah.
college. Yeah, Texas. It's at Texas A&M. Yeah,
A
Right, yeah.
crazy environment, honestly, a crazy,
yep,
crazy
12
environment.
man. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
that's
that's
yeah.
gonna
It's
be a
gonna be
fun game.
that's
it's gonna be the
wealth,
stadium's gonna be
man.
rocking for sure.
That 12th
Oh
man
yeah.
is definitely going to be huge for the Aggies, because I would definitely say, I mean, they're a great program. Don't get me wrong, but I think Notre Dame has just got a little bit more fighting power this year. They retooled, got a lot of good assets over the trading over the portal, um, and the transfer portal. And yeah, I just think I slightly give the edge to them. But if the Aggies come out strong in the first 2 quarters and it's close by the end of the game, that's wealth, man. That especially it's prime time. Everybody on campus is probably going to be in that stadium. Oh my God, that might
Yeah,
be a really fun game to watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
and yeah. Go ahead.
College Station's really tough to go. I mean, on the road for anybody, but yeah, I mean Notre Dame's low key been in the mix for a couple years. I've just been waiting for them to get it done. They've gotten a slew of recruits flocking to South Bend. They're doing something special up there. They just haven't figured out that sauce yet. I mean, uh, I'll agree with Oscar in the sense that if Texas comes out with the right, if they come out with the right mentality and the right sense of urgency early on at home like that in prime time, I think they can take it. But I'll give ND the favorite right now.
I absolutely agree with you, Marco, and you too, Oscar. Um, College Station, being there, seeing the stadium, it's huge. It's a crazy atmosphere. But what Notre Dame has built has honestly been special. They've, Marco, like you said, they've been in the mix for the past few years, and they just haven't gotten into that top four spot with those recent, with the past playoff format. But now that, you know, a team like Notre Dame and both Texas A&M, they can both make it to the playoffs. It honestly depends on um, how they play. And honestly, I think the winner here will stay in the mix, and the loser might drop out of the top 25 if A&M loses. I think they'll probably drop out of the 25. But with the NIL deals and the transfer portal, Notre Dame has just built something special, man. And they've always had great quarterbacks. They've always had great receivers. And people that it's crazy to say, but it seems like sometimes they kind of go unheard, you know. And even though they're always ranked pretty high, but they're not the team that people talk about. They're not the school that people talk about. It's always the big three, Clemson, LSU, Bama, and now Georgia, being in that mix, the big four now. It's unique, and I'm honestly excited. This honestly could go either way. Of course, with A&M having that 12th man, that's just such a fun environment, man. That's an experience for any college student. So I'm
Mhm.
excited, really am.
Yeah, absolutely. And another interesting storyline going into this game is that Mike Elko was the head coach of Duke last year, and Riley Leonard was the quarterback of Duke last year. They were both did worked really well together. Duke had a lot of success last year. And then this offseason, Riley Leonard transferred to Notre Dame, starting quarterback of Notre Dame. Mike Elko was hired as the new Texas A&M head coach. So now they will be against each other. So that should
Oh
be
wow.
Yeah,
interesting
cool.
way to start off the season.
That is a great
Uh,
narrative going into that game. It'll be
Cool stat,
interesting to see how
Colin.
they
yeah,
play against each other.
yeah, absolutely. And so I guess now we'll go into what we've all been waiting to talk about, the
Oh
biggest
yeah.
game for us this week. We got the Florida Gators going up against the Miami Hurricanes. This does not happen very often because they're not in the same conference, but it is still a rivalry nonetheless, and a lot of hype surrounding this game. I think maybe half of UM students are coming up to Gainesville to watch it. So I think it's going to be a big one. Oscar, you go to UM. I'll let you talk about this one first.
So, just specifically as well, like working with the athletics department over the summer, this is going to be a really big opening statement for us. And just with the amount of talent we've acquired over the transfer portal, specifically on the offensive end, getting a real stud of a quarterback in Cam Ward, an insane running back room with led by Damian Martinez. Um, uh, it's just offensively, we got everything it takes to honestly maybe even win a natty. However, defensively, we need to be up to par. And if the defense gets into a rhythm throughout the season, and we get it going, and the guys just stay consistent, I think we have a good chance of not just making the playoffs this year due to the 12-team expansion, but going pretty deep as well. I like our roster a lot this year, and I honestly, non-biasedly, I mean, I am a UM fan, but if I would have to look at it objectively, I would say we are the better team in Gainesville this Saturday, and I think we will come out with the victory. So,
I
Yeah,
I agree with you, honestly. This should be a really big statement game for UM right now. Um, Coming in after just a really active, you could say, off season, college football off
oh
season,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And they've just again they're coming in ranked 19. I mean that's pretty darn high, especially with this new playoff format. They're right on that cusp of making it to the top 12. But you can never count out Florida, um, even though they haven't been the greatest of teams in the last like 2 3 years or so.
And you got to
Um,
respect the swamp too.
but
Remember, the
y
game's in Gainesville, not
it's
in Miami. So,
it's a
Ben Hill
tough
Griffith is
environment.
a nightmare to play in.
it's going to be
Nightmare.
rocking.
It's gonna be rocking, and when you think of it, there's people like Colin Fursley out there who really
oh,
don't care about anyone because he's a big FSU fan, right? But
speaking of
he's
which,
he's
Bad
still
day to
gonna
be
prey
him.
on the Gators' downfall. But the Gators could come out with a really unique offense. We could see them coming out and firing shots as well, and this could be a nice, fun offensively game. But it's really gonna be who on defense is
more up to
is
the
just
task. I agree with you,
yeah.
Mark.
Whoever
No,
whoever gets those picks, whoever gets those fumble returns, you know, it could be a turnover game, but I think UM definitely has the edge on this, and I'm really excited to see what they did with the program, honestly, this past summer. So
yeah,
look
Yeah,
forward to it.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. As I said quickly before, the swamp is definitely, regardless of the team, it's one of the, up there with College Station and some other, you could say Neyland Stadium. There's a lot of,
Hebrew
comparables.
Stadium as well. Just
Very hard
Oh
place to
yeah,
play, regardless of who you're playing, when you're playing them. I will agree with Oscar. I think they have, in terms of Miami, I think they have made considerable steps to kind of not just be that team that, you know, always has a lot of hype and underperforms. I feel like Cristobal has kind of shaken off some of the rust, and I feel like he's getting into a groove to be not only a good recruiter but a good head coach.
But yeah,
I'm
recruiting
a big
wise, there's no complaints whatsoever, I think, from anybody down here in Miami. Just make the right calls, man. That's all we're praying for.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Ruben Bain, defensive end out of Central. He's already he's a freshman All American. I had the pleasure of getting hit by him in high school. I can attest he hits pretty hard. I think that he's the leader that they needed after they lost guys like Leonard Taylor to the NFL. A lot of holes have been filled in that sense. And then you also have a lot of homegrown talent coming in from schools like Chaminade, Central, Northwestern. He's doing a good job in the Tri Counties. So, I mean, I just think me personally that UF will continue to be a great team on paper that just can't get it done. And I think that this game's going to be no exception. Even with the home field advantage, season opener vibe around them, I think that U Miami gets the job done.
And a little bit of a narrative going into this game as well. Even though it's the first game of the season technically for these two teams, this could be the game that decides who's going to be the power team in Florida this year.
Let's
And
Shut
really
the heck
drives the
up, bro.
margin.
Bro,
let's
shut
Um,
the heck up. Stop it. Stop it right
He's
now. Come on.
listen. Hold on. I'm gonna tag along with Oscar here.
Bro,
FSU is
what?
currently 0-1, right?
Okay, and
0 and
one of
1,
these teams are going to be
and
0-1
one of
too.
these teams is gonna be 0-1, and I already know
Hmm.
who it. I know who it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the Florida Gators.
I
So
agree.
does that mean UM is running Florida now? Marco comes in. Marco, please pitch in because you're our UCF expert here, and you know what's popping off down in or up or down or whatever you want to call it in Orlando. So it I don't know. I don't know.
I
Is
think that
is is is
UCF has a
FSU taking a dip this year, guys?
I think that
I think
FSU will
so.
be fine. I think UM's gonna have a good season, unlike they've been in recent years. I do think UCF. I do work for athletics now. I mean, just from looking around, we are in our second year in the Big 12. The improvements that we've made with Coach Malzahn, who knows how to win. He won with Cam Newton in Auburn. He's won with many different teams. Just hearing him in press conferences, having a veteran quarterback in KJ Jefferson that we haven't had before. Most of our team, I believe it's 45%. It's not a majority, but 45% of our team is fifth year senior. So we have a lot of age on our team right now, and I think we
Of
did get
experience, yeah.
a lot of sneaky transfers. I will say one from the old U Miami, a little bit of narrative here. Former DN 6'6", 250, Nigel Lee Kelly. He's going to start off the end. He's an absolute stud. Running back RJ Harvey, he was number 5 in rushing yards nationally last year. He's coming back and taking the majority of the share. Defense, we got a bunch of studs. We got most notably Traquan Fegans, who was the number 1 safety in the country coming out of high school. He transferred from Alabama. A lot of very interesting guys that came from top programs. Cedric Hawkins from Ohio State. We just got a lot of big guys. Do I think that we'll have a good season? I think we can make a push. Yes. Do we still have some rust that I need to see be shaken off tomorrow against New Hampshire? Definitely against UF on October 5th and big schools like Colorado and Arizona. Yes. But I'm excited to see how UCF stacks up against, all respect to the big Florida, talent. I really do feel like there's a lot of talent in this state that we still need to contend with.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, specifically, I mean, UCF is on the come up, no doubt about it. I mean, last year, all things considered, they did have a good year for themselves. And so this year they hope to improve upon that, and I think they will. But yeah, Colin, I mean, I do believe that this game is really just gonna put one of the three schools in Florida, if that's what you want to call it, in the driver's seat. And I think if UM wins, they're going to be in the driver's seat in control of uh, football in Florida, at least out of those three schools, and really pushing it for the playoffs to have a higher seed than the other two, if the other two even make it in. But I think FSU will. So
Yeah.
S-
Well,
speaking of
yeah.
FSU, um, I'm not sure if we want to segue into this or not, but I'd love to hear some thoughts about the game last week versus Georgia Tech down
yeah,
other
take it
side of
away,
the
Colin.
pond in
Floor's all
Ireland.
yours.
You know,
I
we
personally
had
didn't watch the game or read much about it, so I'd love to
I
hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
I had the game up, cooking up some breakfast on Saturday, so I definitely wasn't paying much attention to it because I didn't want to burn my eggs.
Why are you cooking
They
breakfast at 12 p.m.? What are you doing, buddy?
Dude, I live in Colorado, dude. That's
Tell
like
them to
2 hours
bring out the
behind. It's
Oh,
like
omelet.
10 o'clock
Tell
here,
them to
so
bring out the omelet.
But I'm not sure if you guys know, but we have a FSU expert here by the name of Colin Michael Fursley. So,
Why'd you go to
yeah.
UF?
sir,
My bad.
Yeah, so I mean it was bad. It was a bad game. I'm not gonna make a lot of excuses. We we did not play well at all. The offense in the first drive, we went down the entire field in like 2 seconds, just running the ball every play. I thought we were gonna destroy them by 50 points. And that was the only good drive we had the entire game. DJ looked very rusty. We had a
DJ
chance to score a
Ukulele.
touch.
DJ Ukulele.
DJ.
Oh my God. Uh, Look, with the
First time he played the
rain,
ukulele, he wasn't throwing a football. I'll tell you that much.
Ain't no dang or digger, baby. Number
look,
one in D2.
I know from experience throwing a football in the rain is very difficult. And Georgia Tech's run game is much better than ours. I'm not denying that at all. So the weather
I think
definitely
their
helped
O
us a lot.
line was insanely
Yeah,
impressive.
Yeah.
yeah. Their
Yeah.
O line
really
their O line was
the
really good.
real yeah
And then also
the real
though
deal.
our D line was really bad, so that didn't help either. But their running game was elite. What's his name? King. He was this or I forget his name. Anyway, really good. And yeah, he tore our defense apart. Our defense played terrible. DJ wasn't at his best. And yeah, I mean, I think the weather had a little part to do with it, but like they definitely played better than us. Shout out though to our kick. Okay, Marco, stop it. Shout out though to our kicker. He hit a 59-yard field goal. So I know Marco would be
Man,
happy
I
about
thought that
that.
was
I
Marco
would just
Neto
like to
out
put in a
there.
shameless club. Thinking about golf all the
Shameless
time.
plug.
Um,
Yeah, go for it.
Shameless plug. Just gonna say capped. Kickers are people too, my boy. As you were saying, Cole.
Yeah. So it was bad. In terms of the outlook on the rest of the season, obviously we have to win out, which I think, with the exception of like maybe Notre Dame, depending on how Clemson does, I think we'll win the rest of our games if we get back to how we were last year. DJ has to improve a lot, and the play
It
calling
ain't gonna
does as
happen.
well, but
Ukulele, bro. He's gonna be
we'll
sitting
be
there in the
fine.
corner playing
Look,
his little
Just
you
ukulele.
just the
look,
Notre Dame game. Just the Notre Dame game.
and
That's it.
and Clemson. It depends how Clemson is this year. I don't know if Cade is
Oh.
gonna take a step up, but look,
Hey,
UM is
plug
not going
them. You heard
anywhere.
that? You heard it here first on the Get It Right Saturday Night podcast. Colin already put his pick in for the UM versus FSU game, so
Of
we'll
course.
see how
Why would
that
I?
one. No,
Look, we're gonna beat UM. The reason is because UM is even though they look good on paper, their coach is not that good. Their coach single-handedly made them lose to Georgia Tech last. Y'all want to talk about Georgia
exactly.
Tech,
Well,
Oscar?
okay, no. Let's talk about Georgia Tech. We were closer
Yeah,
to beating Georgia Tech than you guys were.
dude, your loss was way more embarrassing. Come
It
on,
was more
bro.
embarrassing, but we
That
were in a more favorable position
my
than
my
you were.
point. Look, there are teams that they just historically always fold. In the NFL, the Cowboys are a great example. Okay, the Jets, great
Hashtag Aiden
example.
Martinez.
in in college, great example. Like, I'm sorry, Oscar, your team looks
Do not
great. I
compare
can't deny
UM to
that.
the Jets. Do
Colin,
not
you
compare
guys
UM to
lost to
the
a
Jets.
school with a 14% acceptance rate. I'm just gonna
Good,
put that out there.
good for them.
A top 10
If
engineering
it's
school in the
me, I'm
country.
trying to lose to schools like Alabama that let everybody and their mom in. That's how you know they got football.
Okay. Well, look, UM is not going to amount to anything. They're not going to win the conference, that's for sure. It's either going to be Florida State or Clemson. That's my pick.
Hey, I'm
Florida
not
State or
a UM
Clemson.
fan, but
Depends how Clemson's going to do. UM, they might get into. I actually no. UM is not getting into the playoff. There's no shot of it. Well, speaking of that, we can move on to the overall outlook of what we think is going to happen with the
You
playoffs,
see,
new 12-team playoff.
if I may,
I think it's a little
No,
too
you
early
may
for that,
not.
Colin, don't you
I don't
think?
know about you guys, but the Colorado School of Mines
oh, the
have
D2
Okay,
been
bro,
plug.
stop.
have been
I need to mute this
number
guy.
one,
Okay, so
number one.
Georgia is number 1, Ohio State is number 2, Oregon's 3, Texas is 4. That's the top 4. Obviously now
These
we
are
have
old rankings. These are old rankings.
no.
I'd like to
I
point
This is
think
out.
UCF
this
is
is the
getting
current
robbed.
ranking.
Robbed.
This
Of
is the
the
current
AP of
ranking.
the AP poll rankings. You're sure
Yes,
about that?
current
AP top
ranking.
25.
AP
Yep.
top 25 on the top right there. These are the current
Okay,
rankings.
okay.
Obviously, Florida State is still at 10 because they wait until week 1 is over to adjust their ranking. So obviously, Florida State is going to drop. But these are the
Florida State's
current
dropping to
rankings.
22, I think.
Okay. Well,
That's my guess.
okay. So I'll start it with this. Do you guys think that the 12-team playoff is a good idea?
I think
I do.
it's fantastic. I'll elaborate quickly on that. I think
Colin,
while the age old tradition of, you know, or at least, I won't call it age old. I'm just being, in my experience as a college football fan, and it does create an element of competition. I do still think that to be relevant in college football, whether it's 12 teams, 5 teams, 4 teams, you still pretty much have to have a perfect season to be in that contention. 1, 2 games, 3 games if you played an absolutely monstrosity of a schedule. So I think that aspect of competition is not going to leave, and that's why I'm in favor of it. If we're having teams that have 5, 6 losses that are still sneaking in there, I think the competitive, urgency and that standard deviation between good and great is going to get lost, and I don't think that's happening. So I'm in favor of seeing how this goes, and also I think it's just a more interesting playoff. I feel like the last couple of years, it's only 2 games. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
3 games, 2 to 3 games, give or take. I think it would be cool to have somewhat of a bracket now and see some teams come into the limelight. So that's why I'm in
potential
favor of it.
upsets.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
competition level
And
isn't going down.
I
Respect.
think
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
if
Go ahead.
if you don't mind, I think that that there's still definitely a perk of being a top four team because you have that first round bye. So of course it's like it literally is an extension of the playoff, right? And I think that is very necessary in the current state of how college football is with the NIL deals, with the transfer portal, of all this stuff. Programs, smaller schools that 15 years ago that didn't have amazing football have built their way up, and teams that maybe haven't made the playoff, maybe make it every 20 years, 15 years, they could make a playoff every 2 to 3 years now. I think that makes it interesting. With the NIL deals, players are going to teams that give them what they want money wise or assets or whatever, right? So a lot of teams have become more competitive, and I think that's what makes it more fun. And of course, I think 12 is the right number. I don't think they should have gone less or should have gone more because if you look at previous rankings, basically everyone in the top 12, top 15 is either undefeated or whatever, and with one loss, right? 10-1 or whatever the number is. So I'm excited. I really am. I like this.
Yeah. I think it's gonna
Oscar?
be good. Oh
Just
yeah, Oscar, go ahead.
respectfully, Colin. Do you like asking rhetorical questions? I think it was a little bit unnecessary to ask if any of us liked the switch to a 12. If any of America, the entire United States of America, liked the switch to the 12-team playoff system, because let me tell you something. With a 12-team playoff system, we're gonna get some real gosh darn football, all right. And that's what I love to see at this time of year, some real gosh darn football. Some rough and tough 'em, go get 'em, rock 'em, sock 'em football. And that's what I'm going to get with this 12-team playoff system, all right? Everybody who says it's bad, you're wrong. You're wrong. And give me more football, baby. That's what I'm here for. That's why I love the USA. This is what we stand for.
See,
What is a kilometer? Yep.
I don't like the 12-team playoff. Here's
All
why.
right, somebody kick him out. No more.
Some
We
of
need
Here's
to
you
do.
why.
communist socialism is
Rare
black.
Colin Fursley L? Rare L. Wow.
No, I want
Somebody,
to hear
think-
about.
we need to
Colin's
find a new
actually-
co-host.
Colin's
Yeah,
actually
actually, I wanna hear
obviously
this.
intelligent. I want to hear this.
Anybody out there? We're looking for a new co-host for the Get It Right Saturday Night
right.
podcast.
Auditions start next week. Email us at Get It Right
Okay.
Saturday Night Podcast
Here's what
at
I. All right, here.
gmail.com.
Look. This is why. This is
All
why.
right, take the
Look
floor,
at the
Colin.
look at the rankings right now. Based off of last year's performance, where do you think the cutoff is between the best teams, the greatest teams, and the good teams? Just where do you guys
I
think?
Well, you
think
got at
okay.
least six
I think
great teams in there. At least
I,
six.
I
Okay,
think
okay,
I think
6.
it's 8.
Oscar
I
says
think
6.
it's 8. I
Mark
think it's
says
8.
8.
Hey,
Marco, you said 8. Okay, so there you go. That's my opinion. I said it last year. Last time we were talking about this, I said the same thing. 12 is too much. I like 8 because when you start putting Utah and Missouri in there against Georgia, it's not fun anymore. I think if you put you
But
just
then you
had the
take away the
concentration.
aspect.
But
Here's
that's fine.
yeah.
here's
Who
what's the problem.
knows?
You take away the aspect of a potential upset and an underdog winning the national title.
You see,
You're
that's
right,
you
except
got
Even
that right.
no, except nothing. Even with an 8-team system, especially with how college football is projecting, like Mark said earlier, it's going to become a way more competitive team to where these smaller market teams are going to be more viable for individual players to go towards. And so the market is going to be thinned out when it comes to in terms of talent and competition. You're going to see a lot more teams that are more even, and it's not going to be as dominated by 4 teams or 5, 6 teams in a year as it was beforehand. Like historic programs like Alabama, Georgia, USC, Notre Dame back in the day. I mean, even Miami back in the day, 80s and early 2000s. But you're not going to have those dynasties anymore. Like stuff's going to change on a year
You,
to
you,
year
you,
basis.
I think that's a
you
good point.
yeah.
That's a good point in terms. Mark, I'll let you go. Just one quick note on that. I think that's something I was interested in seeing if we can slowly, because this is not overnight, if to demonopolize how college football has been as of late. And I'm not saying that, you still have teams that, come out of nowhere. We had, TCU, I mean, the teams that have been good, but I didn't expect them to make a top four by any means. I, I'm concerned, sorry, I'm not concerned about the diluting of talent and having it spread around where NIL, perhaps maybe toxically becomes more of a thing where other teams like, hey, maybe we do have a shot. Let's spend some extra money. But hey, as long as it falls within the lines, I'm interested to see how it goes. I do think that spreading around the national talent and seeing, historically 5 stars going to the same kind of big basket schools. I mean, I kind of want to see where that goes. I think it's good for the sport.
I mean,
You,
Colin,
you're
think about
literally
it.
saying exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
To to
Absolutely
to
agree.
to wait to the question you asked earlier, Colin. I mean, think about it. Wait, how many great teams do you see? Like, let's use last year's, if they were last year's, teams. Right, you got Georgia, Ohio State at 1 through 5. The 1 through 5, great, like, incredible teams last year, right? Incredible, just hands down. You want to add FSU ranked at 10? That's 6, right? That's 6. I told you I saw at least. And then the rest, I mean, there's still really good teams that could upset any of those teams on a 1 game basis. Remember, it's not the NBA. It's not a 7 game series here. It's 1 game.
7 game series, no doubt
Okay,
about it.
so
A lot of these good or even great teams are getting cooked by the dynasties. Let's make
Yeah,
that clear.
okay,
I don't think
absolutely.
that
hold
Utah
on.
takes Alabama in a best of 7 now or in 50 years. So
But you think Utah is beating Georgia in 1 game? No.
yeah, yeah. And
Probably
if it's the
not.
right day with the
Honestly,
right
Probably not.
circumstances, I think
But
so.
here's,
anything possible.
but
Okay,
you're thinking about it the wrong way.
look at
You're
this
thinking about
AP
it the wrong
poll
way,
real quick.
Colin. Think about it this way. Sorry to cut you off there, Mark, but think about it
You're
this
good.
way. Georgia's on one side of the bracket, right? Utah's on the other side of the bracket. Georgia gets beaten by a team who's closer to them, like conventionally speaking, right? Conventionally speaking, and takes away the toughest team in the bracket. It's an upset. Like, for example, if Texas upsets Georgia, it's possible. Is it expected?
Yeah, but
No.
that's not how the bracket is though.
I'm saying, like, it's a hypothetical, Colin.
But that's
And
just
then for some reason, Georgia's out of the bracket and Utah wins against whoever they're matched up against. And then, I mean, they just go on a roll. And, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why
okay.
12 team is so good. It's because
Look,
it
Yeah,
gives you
someone,
that
that's your
someone,
ability.
opinion.
someone on this on the AP poll right now that is ranked is gonna lose to an unranked team this week, for sure. That's gonna
Uh,
happen, right? But what's wrong with having that in the playoffs when you have the 12 best ranked teams according to the AP poll, and the number 11 seed beats the number 2 seed, or however it works. I don't know however way it works, right? I'm not sure
And
how the
even
playoff works,
still, it's
and who
not
has
like
a bye or not, right? But
exactly,
still,
Mark.
Colin, we'll
there.
just say I think the consensus here is that maybe we don't like 12 a whole lot, but it's a whole lot better than 4. So we'll
of
take what we
course.
got for right now.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and we could see them making changes in the playoffs, like how they're making changes in the NFL. The NFL has been active in making changes in many different things, and now they're talking about making 2 bye weeks and adding another week of games,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
There's
absolutely.
there's been a lot of talks here, and I think college football is entering into a new generation, right? And the first thing they had to do was expand the playoffs. So they started out with 12. Maybe the cutoff this year for the great teams is 8. Maybe it's 4. Maybe it's 15. Who knows? But with these new NIL deals that are coming in, right? You never know. you honestly never know what team could just randomly shoot up and make it top 12. You don't know if Miami will be ranked 10 for Flipton's sakes. You know, we don't know if Penn State will drop. Maybe Florida State will drop out of the
It's
AP polls.
it's not going to
Who
make that
knows?
much big of a difference because with NIL, you can only pay someone how much money you have. And how do football teams make money? By being good, by winning.
Well,
So,
well, no, whoa, you're
Iowa,
wrong
But
there. You know what?
but
No, you're
wait.
actually very, wait, Colin, you're very wrong there because that might be for schools whose like main priority is their football program, but there are some schools out there that make a ridiculous amount of money that have nothing to do and don't funnel that money towards their football program.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
let's say they want to start up a football team, want to start making a serious program because of NIL deals, because of being able to offer these athletes compensation through some manner, they can start building real programs just on money alone. Like, am I a fan of that? Personally, not so much. I like when schools have a culture, when they have a set precedent.
Hmm.
And I think for the most part, that's not what's going to happen. That's something that you see a lot more in other sports, specifically professional soccer, where teams get bought out and stuff. I'm not going to get into that specifically, but in that like scenario, that's something more that you'll see in professional soccer. But
But
to
yeah.
go back to what Mark was saying earlier and what you were talking about, Colin, I just think even like like Mark was saying at the end of the day, the 12 teams that are going to be there at the end of the year because they're going to have wins and losses. The 12 teams that are going to be there, they're going to be deserving of it. Like they're going to be even if they're the 12 seed, they were good enough
Yeah.
to be ranked number
And
12. So it's
and
not like
and
they're
there's still
scrubs. They could
mhm.
upset anybody.
And there's still gonna be like drama, or you would say I'm not sure how you'd call it, but the number 13 seed, people could argue that the number 13 seed should be in the playoffs more deserving than 12, for example, or
The
yada yada
threshold
yada,
is
right?
continuing to be
Yeah,
pushed, which is
ex
interesting.
it's let's say right now Oklahoma stays at 16, right? And then LSU comes into 12, okay? Who and someone says, I think Oklahoma's more deserving than LSU at 12, right? Whatever it is, right? There's still gonna be that entertainment factor, that sitting there waiting for the last poll to drop to know if you make it to the playoffs. But now you're just adding more teams. Now you're adding the excitement, because if you know you're number one, and if you're number one, you know you're gonna be number one. You know you're gonna face the number four seed. Regardless, that's not easy. It's not. It's not easy game. But now when you have the number one seed facing off whoever it is, I'm not sure how the playoff format is formatted. One way or another, teams are going to be doing more scouting for all the different teams that are possible that they can play. So that already gets even players more ready for the NFL. And I think this leads into the NFL and making players in general athletically, it makes it kind of more demanding because now they actually have to like lock in and watching film. We've seen it with Johnny Manziel and all these guys. They didn't watch film, whatever, and they sucked. Now these teams, these players are gonna have to watch film because they don't know who they're gonna play next week for that playoff format, and that translates into the NFL. And
I
honestly, I think it benefits the NFL as well.
I agree with like about 80% of what you said. I don't know about that last bit just too much, but what I will say is even still when you have that format implemented, it adds even more pressure on that one seed to win their game because they're going up against like what Mark was saying was an even easier opponent. It's not a 4 seed anymore. All right, you're the one seed going up against a 12 or 11 seed or the 10 seed. You got to win that game because otherwise, why else were you the one seed? And it lets these smaller teams who are not ranked as high play with house money, and it's probably going to make for some really gosh darn entertaining football. It's gonna
Oh,
it's
you
gonna be some
bet.
real football. You know what I mean? Some real Southern
Some
Alabama
real
football.
hard hitting, no slapping football.
Some no nonsense, run it down your throat football. That's what I want to see.
That's the football I
Yeah,
like.
that's for sure. Yeah.
You
Well,
already know.
last thing for this episode, I want each of you guys to give me your pick for the national champion. Oscar, you started off.
I mean, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but if all things should go as they go, I think Georgia will have a bit of a redemption year. They're looking, I think at least they're looking to make a statement this year and be like, why did you ever doubt us? And
Yeah.
that's a scary fact, for
Yeah.
me at least. I think it's going to be a very scary sight to behold.
Mark, what do you think?
The obvious pick is Georgia, but I really want Oregon. I kind of want Oregon to win it. I'm not gonna lie. I think if they hadn't lost to Washington last year, they would have been in the playoffs and they could have made a good run for it. And so, I'm excited for Oregon as well. I think they're the team I want to see win the national championship this year. Go Ducks!
Yeah, that's a tough one. I definitely do think there's a lot of talent. I feel like also unlike, because I feel like I've been following rankings not only in high school but also in the portal quite closely for a few years. I don't think I've seen as much of an active portal as there was in this last. It's good. There's got to be some statistics on it. It was probably one of the most active portals. I know in terms of withdrawals and people attempting to transfer, it was definitely up there. I feel like the talent pool has been shifted, but all things considered, I really do think that I'm gonna have to be basic and say that I really do think that Georgia's gonna get it done again. All things considered. If not, I really do feel like Ohio State has a winning culture. I feel like they've always um, been in the mix. I don't think they've had a year where they've even dropped, to the teens. I mean, they've always been up there, at least in recent history. And I think that it's going to be between them. I am taking UCF to finish in the 11th spot, though. I'm just gonna say that right now. Just gonna put that out there.
That
Just
would be
me though.
crazy. That would be
Just me
crazy.
Yeah.
though.
That would be fun. I'd try to make that out to whatever
We're
playoff game that is.
Put a $5 bet on it. You might win like $5,000. Honestly.
I'm gonna put something. I really feel like something's changing around here. I think that if we can win our big ticket games, we have to win the big ones. We have to win Florida, we have to win Colorado, we have to win Arizona, and we have to beat Utah at home on Thanksgiving. So that's gonna be our toughest game of the season. But if we can get enough firepower to get us in the top 25, um, you know, I think that a top 25 season, after coming off a 2017 undefeated season, then in 2018 we finished number 8. We fell off after that into the 70s and 80s. I feel like we've been rebuilding ever since. Just a little hot take there as a,
Yeah.
knight over here.
Yeah,
Cool.
go Knights.
That's
What about
cool.
you, Colin? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going with Georgia. I'm not going to pick against them until they lose. Even though they lost last year, I don't think that. Well, they didn't lose; they just didn't make it, and I don't think.
Yeah,
I think they still should have made it.
Well,
So
they did. They
until
lost to
yeah,
Alabama.
I agree.
no, they didn't make it to the playoffs. So even though I think they should have. So
No,
I'm saying,
I know what you're saying, but they lost to Alabama last
yeah,
year, which
but that isn't, in my opinion, that shouldn't have mattered. So I'm
I
saying
agree with. I
until
agree
they
with you,
until
but
they until they make it into the playoff and they lose, I'm not picking against them. So I'm
all
going
right,
with
fair
Georgia.
enough. Fair enough. Fair
That's
enough.
fair. That's fair. Well,
Uh,
I don't know about you guys, but it may not be D1, but Colorado School of Mines, we've been the
okay,
best.
bro. Flipping
It's been
God,
a great.
bro.
It's been a great
I think
pod,
we're
you
going undefeated
guys.
again.
Yeah,
I
it's
think we're
been
going
a great
undefeated again.
pod.
We're going back to the championship, and we're probably gonna lose to Kent State or whatever it is, but it's gonna be fine. But
Kent State, bro.
I don't,
What are
I
you
don't,
saying?
I
You're
don't
in
know, bro.
D2. Stop acting like you're a good school, brother.
Bro,
All right.
we're crazy,
So,
bro. We're crazy.
all right, Mark, go
My
ahead.
boy
Sign
Grayson,
us
bro.
off.
All right, guys. Well, this is our first episode back. It's week 2 of college for us, and we're honestly very happy to have the podcast up and running for you guys. Keep tuning in because you already know we're gonna be getting it right every Saturday night that we can, of course. Um, but
Which will be
we're
most of the
here,
time.
we're back, but we're gonna have videos posted every Saturday night, and hopefully some new interesting content actually coming for you guys soon as well. And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Bye.
So.
See you guys.